Vergonia.
Also, that actually reminds me, the Vigeland, of course, is a reference to Martha Alito's dream of flying a flag that she actually has conceived in her own head as a way of getting back at people who fly the pride flag across the lagoon from where she lives.
All the people at Pride looking at it confused.
Honestly, like, just even recounting what she said makes me feel like I'm crazy.
You took some diagnosed or have
honestly, like I have taken mushrooms in the past and have been significantly more coherent than or less fantastical. But here's the point. My sister Julie, who handles many things on the program, but also the rapid response on the T-shirts, sent me one with Vigeland. But I'm like, we got to get the flag. So somebody has to go back and listen to what Martha Alito, described, and make a flag. And we will give you a free T-shirt. We will make the flag, then we'll put "Left is Best" on the back. But the flag has got to be, remember,
inspired by Alito, Miss Alito.
The flag has got to be, it's got to have the flames that she talked about. It's got to have Vigeland, maybe even spelled out.
There's a few mock-ups already.
But it's got to look angry.
Yeah. Daily Kos has a mock-up.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if we got to go with somebody else's, we'll do it. But I would love it to be a Majority Report listener. And you can send an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com. But it has to be angry. There has to be anger. And an aggrievement. This flag it's got to be aggrieved. And we will fly the flag, Vigeland.
Next to the "Get the Chuck Out" flag.
Yeah. Speaking of the Supreme Court, and we will get to this story. I mean, the Clarence Thomas story, like, I don't know how many times this guy can lie about it, and you can see where he fudged. He's like, well, Harlan didn't charge me anything to be on his private yacht, so I just didn't put that in as a gift. Because they're best buds now. But of course, they're best buds since he has become a Supreme Court justice. I mean, think about like how impossible it would be to get to be considered to bribing somebody if they just became your friends. But we'll get to that. But here is Representative Rashida Tlaib on the House floor calling for the Biden administration and the Democratic Party to do something. Dick Durbin woke up from his nap for a couple of minutes to find out that Clarence Thomas basically lied on his disclosure form again and withheld like 3 or 4 trips that they could find, at least at a minimum, that Harlan Crow paid for. And this is in the past like 4 or 5 years. This isn't like 12 years ago. And I forgot about that trip to the Maldives or whatever it is. And here's Tlaib calling for expanding the court and getting impeachment hearings going. We got one Supreme Court justice who is out there. These people are refusing to recuse themselves. No one can say this doesn't look bad for the Supreme Court. Play this.
Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court is not facing an ethics crisis. It's a corruption crisis. But it seems like that every single day there's new headlines about more corruption coming out of our U.S. Supreme Court. I know we need urgent action to hold these unhinged, corrupt extremists accountable. It is extremely disturbing that the United States Supreme Court, the highest court of our land, is the only court that does not have enforceable code of conduct. Justice Thomas, which my residents call Corruption Clarence, has received over $4 million in 193 gifts, including multiple vacations, flights on private jets, helicopter rides, Mr. Speaker, and yacht trips from Republican billionaire mega donors like Harlan Crow, who actually have cases before the court. And we are supposed to expect this court to hold itself accountable? Give me a break. One of these luxury trips actually cost $500,000. And it's not just corrupt Clarence, it's Justice Alito, who has also been hit with numerous scandals recently, including accepting luxury trips and flying insurrectionists stop the steal flags outside of his home after the attack on our U.S. Capitol. And yet, here we go, the American people are supposed to trust him to decide the cases around January 6th. And these unelected justices are serving lifetime appointments, Mr. Speaker, continue and again to strip us of our rights, shred our voting rights, gut our environmental protections, our right to breathe clean air and drink clean water, and sell our democracy to the highest bidder. It's time to expand the Supreme Court. It's time for reforms. I know our residents in the 12th Congressional District are demanding that I move with urgency on this issue. We need to enact term limits to Supreme Court justices and enforce binding code of conduct, real reforms, and expedite impeachment proceedings. These reforms are long overdue. I know Justice Thomas should have never been confirmed in the first place. We should have listened to Anita Hill. But let me be clear, Thomas and Alito need to be impeached and removed from the bench now. Our country deserves a Supreme Court that's acting in the best interest of the American people, not a court that is accepting bribes and doing the bidding of right-wing extremists.
You know, the corruption here with Clarence Thomas, I think the messaging on this is a little bit convoluted. I mean, it may be easier for people to sort of surmise that Harlan Crow is paying off Clarence Thomas because he has cases in front of the court. But that's not what it is. Harlan Crow has been bribing Clarence Thomas for 15 years to stay on the court. That's it. He has been subsidizing Clarence Thomas's staying on the court. He has been paying for his lifestyle, paying for his mother's home, paying for his kids' private school, paying for millions and millions of dollars worth of trips, living, you know, a life of luxury on a Supreme Court justice salary, which is what, like $200,000-$300,000. You know, that's a lot of money to an average person. But Clarence Thomas is probably right. He probably could have left the Supreme Court and gotten a job paying him, I don't know, $1 million a year as some type of, just sort of like rainmaker in a law firm. And Harlan Crow came in and said, no, you can keep the status of a Supreme Court justice, and I will take care of whatever you need. You want to go on a trip? I got your trip covered. You want to buy your mom a house? I got your mom's house covered. You need a loan? I got you covered. Private school for your kid? I got you covered. God knows what Harlan Crow has promised him in the future, right? Like, don't worry. Ginny needs a job. Guess what? Ginny's going to get a very, very lucrative job just basically for being bat crap crazy and saying that she works for whatever it is, the Heritage Foundation or Hillsdale College or wherever it is, the sinecure. I mean, just listen to right-wing talk radio, listen to the advertising, and you will hear all the different people who have paid Ginny Thomas. That's the way it works. He's been bribed to stay on the court by his best buddy. And that's what's going on. Alito's gotten a little bit, but he just didn't have the cash requirements, I guess.
It is funny like, oh, I guess I should have disclosed that. I'll disclose it now. These people are empowered to be.
He didn't even do that, though. No, he didn't even do that. With Clarence Thomas, this just came out. Do we have a tear sheet for this? I don't know if we do. Durbin said on Thursday the committee obtained information from Crow that Thomas took 3 trips and at least 6 flights on Crow's private jet in 2017, 2019, and 2021 that Clarence Thomas did not reveal. Harlan Crow made a deal with the Supreme Court to not be brought in and be subpoenaed because Dick Durbin's so cowardly that he's willing to limit this. But Crow doesn't want to be examined. They've also found evidence of private jet travel during trips to Indonesia and California that Thomas recently disclosed in an amendment to a 2019 financial disclosure report. So a lot of this wasn't. The new information, quote, makes it crystal clear that the highest court needs an enforceable code of conduct because its members continue to choose not to meet the moment. This type of pablum is just, it's absurd. You don't have to impeach them to attempt to impeach them. To raise the awareness of the American public that something's seriously wrong. Thomas has maintained that he's not required to disclose the many trips he and his wife took that were paid for by the Texas mega donor because Crow and his wife Kathy, quote, are among our dearest friends. That's a quote. This is what he said in an April 2023 statement, that he was advised by colleagues on the nation's highest court and others in the federal judiciary that, quote, this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court was not reportable.
It's funny how the friends you make once you become a Supreme Court justice just happen to be billionaires.
And you're introduced by Leonard Leo after you have been told, Leonard Leo's been told that Thomas is going around complaining that he doesn't have enough money. I mean, that's what's going on here. Last week, Thomas said in his annual financial disclosure that Crow paid for a hotel room in Bali, Indonesia for a single night in 2019 and food and lodging at a private club in Sonoma County, California the same year. But he did not report the plane flights or the stay on Crow's yacht.
They're just friends.
I mean, the idea that he doesn't have to report this because, it's Crow's personal yacht. The guy's a billionaire. He could just go around and be like, Clarence, where do you want to go? Well, I want to go here. Okay, I'm going to buy that hotel. Now you can just stay there. We're personal friends. It's just disgusting. And it's just pathetic. This should be a bigger deal with the Senate Democrats. But Dick Durbin is just sitting on it. I don't know how many, I have a vague notion of how many more years we're going to have to suffer through this generation of Democrats who do nothing. Nothing. Hopefully I can be around doing this when I say goodbye to all of them. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.